Starseed Ascension welcomes guests from a variety of backgrounds to gain perspectives, experiences, and information in the paranormal, spiritual, and ET space. We are a community of spiritual explorers who seek to help raise consciousness. And now, here's your host of Starseed Ascension, Jamie Voss Love.
All right, welcome back to Starseed Ascension. I'm your host, Jamie Voss Love, and tonight we will be talking about energy, nutrition, and health. And we have a very special guest with us tonight, and although all of our guests are special, this one happens to be my partner of 4.5 years, so very excited to have her on with us tonight. And a little bit about Miss Angela Harper. She is a University of Kansas graduate, and she began her career as a broadcast reporter for ABC News. And she then moved to LA after college, where she worked in TV and film for 20 years. And after a ton of fun and also being plagued with the daily grind, Angela decided to pursue her passions of nutrition, cooking, and exercise. So as a board certified holistic nutritionist, Reiki Master, certified personal trainer, and wellness coach, she loves making people feel good, living a happier lifestyle, and supporting them with health, nutrition, energy, physical fitness, and goals. So please welcome Angela Harper.
Hello.
Hello, hello. Thank you for being here on such short notice this evening.
I never need any notice to talk. So it's all good.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, we know that you started your journey in media and worked in TV and film for 2 decades, which is a while. So, Angela, can you share a little bit about that path and what led you to what you're doing now?
Sure. It started out, I've always enjoyed people's stories. And so it started out with doing broadcast and being able to tell people's stories. And I loved it. I love learning about people and seeing where they come from, what they do, what their story is, and getting it out there. And then when I decided to move on to TV and film, I was able to tell make-believe stories, create up stories that I wanted to tell. And so did that for many years, which was fun and imaginative and creative and all the things you think it is, until I decided I kind of wanted to do what I was the most passionate about, which is nutrition and fitness. And so now I basically help people kind of create their own stories and to create their own, now basically creating their own life journey through nutrition and fitness and feeling good. And so it all boils down to still helping people create their own stories and rewrite their stories in a different way.
Beautiful. I love it. And I can't wait to dive into that a little more deeply. And before we do, just to talk about what you did before, what you're doing now. Essentially, you have so many funny and crazy and wonderful stories.
Oh dear.
And I just wanted to verify a rumor I heard that you were once a fictitious contestant on a game show. Is that accurate?
Oh, that's unfairly accurate. Yes. So yes, a friend of mine called and said that they needed elementary school teachers in the LA Unified School District. And could I come be on the show? So I said, sure. And so I was on a game show where all of the words were school teacher words. So I got up there and said my name and said I was a teacher and what school I taught at or what district I taught in. Never give the name of the school and what district I taught in. And then basically got up there and had 5 letters to choose from. And the word was ruler. And I was only missing 1 letter and I still didn't get it. And not even thinking that, I'm not a teacher and I'm not used to coming up with the word ruler. I don't know the last time I used ruler in a sentence. So yeah, so I mortified myself. That's how I got my start, was mortification, and just went straight from there.
I love it. So you worked a little bit in acting, production. I know you produced a film as well. And so this is just a quick yes or no, but our audience may want to know the answer to this question, whoever's listening and watching tonight. So your film, The Fifth Dimension, talks about the Montauk Project and MK Ultra. So in your personal opinion, did these experiments really happen?
Yes, they did. We have the footage of the experiments that happened. So yeah.
I love it. I love it. We'll have to go deeper into that in another episode.
Yes, for sure.
Well, talking about, trusting yourself and intuition and just, developing that is such an important part of the work that you do and just the healing process in general. And so I know there was a moment in Australia where you had to fully trust yourself. Can you share more about what you were doing there, or why you were there and what you did to kind of tune into this deeper self trust?
Yeah, I mean, I think so much of our journey is thinking that we can trust other people to guide us, and yet ultimately it comes down to trusting ourselves through the process and trusting what the result's going to be, and that it's either positive or negative, but for whatever reason it's there. And so we had a hiatus in Australia, and I chose not to come back. My boss did, because he came back to see his kids and had a family. And so I decided to play, and I got certified to deep sea dive in one day, and got on a boat with 21 people that I'd never met, none of whom were Americans. I was the only American. And we went deep sea diving in the Great Barrier Reef. And so it's the full, and you have, a partner when you go diving. And so it's the ultimate trust of knowing that your partner that you have, that may not even speak the same language, but is going to know the signals that you give them to get you out of the water, to get a breathing tube on you or whatever. And you have these night dives, and one of our requirements was that we did a night dive, which, talk about anxiety, is one of the scariest things I think I've ever done, because we had to do it. And you go down into the ocean, and you go through basically caves, and you swim through, and you hope your buddy's up there, but you can't see in front of you, and you can't see behind you, and all you see basically are bubbles, and you have a headlight that's guiding your way, and fish that you don't know where they come from just suddenly zoom by, and you just trust that that thing that zooms by doesn't have a big mouth, and you're not dinner. And so a lot of it was the full, complete surrender that the people that you're with, totally have your back, and that you have theirs, and you trust yourself that if that scenario were to come about, exactly what you're going to do in that situation. I mean, you can't prepare for it. I mean, you can train and you can learn, but no situation prepares you for when something actually happens. And when it happens, that instinct comes in. And so that was my first real, not first real, but a real experience where I, basically had to surrender and just go, I'm in their hands and they're in my hands, and we're going through this process together, and just hope that, you don't run into the wall or run into a rock or hit something on the head or get kicked in the face and your mask comes off. It's a process. And I came up for air eventually. So it was good. It all worked out in the end.
Wow. So that's a beautiful journey of trusting yourself, others, and literally diving right into fear of the unknown.
I mean, yeah, exactly. You're diving to the bottom of the ocean and hoping that you get there one day and get back up safely within the amount of time that you have to keep air in a tank.
So speaking of diving into the fear of the unknown, was it challenging for you to make the leap from entertainment to nutrition, or did it just feel like a natural part of the process because of your passions around?
Yeah. And I mean, when I went back to school, I didn't give up what I was doing. I mean, I stayed in school and worked and did both of those, for the most part, full time. But it was, it was a gradual process and process of evolution to know that I'd gone out and done what I wanted to do, and that I could comfortably leave knowing that I succeeded in what I did. I mean, I did so much better than many people in that business do. I met amazing people. I had amazing experiences. And to look at where I would have wanted to have gone in that profession, it would have sacrificed a huge quality of life. And I knew that, that top goal that I really wanted in that business, after being years in that business, when you work 80-hour weeks and seeing the quality of life you have then going, it's only going to get worse from here. And not to say that it's not a great lifestyle and a lot of fun, but it was just one of those where, ultimately I knew that I really wanted to do something else that I was passionate about, could still help people, could still, could still basically create people's journeys and help rewrite their journeys. And, and it's very similar because we work through, nutrition is almost like a mini production. I mean, you're starting from a pyramid, you're starting from a foundation, and everything that you do is a one-step process. And that's the same way, basically, when you put it in the same format, it's the same way that making movies or TV shows is you have a ground level, and that's where you start. You're not supposed to go from here to there overnight, especially with nutrition, because it's a gradual process and it's a learning process. Are you coming in?
Yes.
Okay. And now I have a very special guest. What's up? And ladies and gentlemen, Jamie Voss Love.
Hello. So I was doing this interview upstairs from another room, and we've been having technical difficulties. So we're going to carry on the interview from right here. So I'm going to ask you questions right next to you. Are you ready for the next one?
Do we want to move, or you're like a parrot on my shoulder? Okay, we'll just unplug this here. And now I'm going to host right now and take you guys on a little tour. And we're just going to come over here and hang out and have a old school conversation on the ground.
All right, wonderful. So come on over.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so speaking of intuition and nutrition, can you talk to us a little bit about how important intuitive eating is, and just some of your work around the chakras, the types of food that can be helpful in balancing it, and how important it is to listen to your body?
Yeah, well, intuitive eating, eating in general, when we think about it, there's so much thought, such a thought process that goes into, what we're going to have for breakfast, what we're going to have for lunch, what we're going to have for dinner. And it's, it can get exhausting just even planning meals. And intuitively, you know what your body wants and you know what your body needs. Cravings usually are a result of some sort of deficiency in your body. And, I think that's why we crave sweets, is because we're lacking, like a B vitamin. And so when you intuitively eat, you feed yourself with what you're needing at that time. And every meal is a new chance to start over, basically. That's the beautiful part of nutrition, is it's not the exact same thing all the time. It's every time you sit down and eat, or eat on the go, or whatever it is you do, you have a choice to make. And, intuitively we know what's healthy and what's not healthy for us. And, and then we have a choice, and, you've got to feed your body with what it wants and what you want, what you need, I think. And then the chakras, to balance your body out, we know that there's the 7 colors of the chakra. And when you eat, they say eat the rainbow. There's truth to that, because the chakras are a rainbow. And so when you eat a plate of food and you eat a rainbow of colors, you're feeding every portion of your body that's, from your root to your crown. And so you've just covered all of that balancing energy, balancing the energies of your body, basically. And so I think it all ends up going hand in hand in whatever spiritual profession you're in or nutrition, it all comes back to kind of the same thing, the base root.
And we talked a little bit before about how sometimes we do have cravings for maybe something that like would make us feel guilty. So like one day, it's not uncommon with the energies to go into, a sugar cravings. And some people might feel bad if they totally eliminate that and then wish to, explore it again. So how do you feel about that? And can you give us some examples of what you do?
Of diving into the craving?
Yes.
Well, I mean, where do I start? We all crave sweets. We all crave sugars. We all go to the store and judge the person in front of us buying what they're buying at the counter. And yet we turn around and go buy the same thing. I think sometimes you just have to listen to yourself, because when you deprive yourself of whatever it is, then you go down the whole rabbit hole of, overindulging. And that's where kind of the bad habits start to begin, is you beat yourself up if you have it. And yet, like I said, each step is a new step to create a different change. So if you go to the counter and buy a bag of Jelly Bellies because you're hormonal that day, then, that there's usually a reason. And the next time you go in there, the next hour is going to be completely different. You grab an apple. So you've got to indulge in that, or you just go, it's a spiral. You go down the rabbit hole and overindulge and then never get out of, the bags of Jelly Bellies, for lack of a better, or ice cream. I'm an ice cream junkie. What can I say? It's a bottomless pit. That quart container does not end. And sometimes that's okay, because, it's all about balance. You have that quart and then you start off breakfast with something healthy and it all equals out.
So it's more about allowing and loving yourself along the way.
It's forgiving yourself. A lot of it's forgiveness of the choices that you make. And with anything that you do, whether it's fitness or whether it's nutrition or any of that, it's all about forgiving a choice that you make that you don't think fits in the parameter of what you're supposed to do. And then you have the choice to make a change.
That's beautiful. And I know, being a Reiki master, that you work with energetics and just removing potentially emotional blocks that can keep you feeling stagnant or not in the best, health and wellness condition. So how important do you feel kind of taking a holistic view of both the energies and the physicality, that physical movement is important in moving some of this energy that we're experiencing today?
Well, yeah, sure. There's that lovely saying, use it or lose it. And it's so true, because we can get stuck in that pattern of not moving our bodies. And then you get up later and you're stiffer. And it's like, why am I so stiff? Because I haven't moved. Even if it's just getting up to, just walk down the, through the house or through whatever, it's moving that body and just keeping everything in your body needs to stay awake and alive. And, you got to keep using it and you got to keep moving it, or you get those blocked energies, you get that blocked part, you get a stomach ache, or you get, your knee doesn't want to bend as well, or your elbow is inflamed. And usually that's some sort of stuck something that's trying to work its way through. And so the more you use it, the looser it gets, or sometimes it gets stiffer before it gets looser. But, it's that constant movement of using things, or, they just get stagnant.
Beautiful. Well, I think that we're going to go ahead and take a break here, but we'll be back in a few.
Excellent.
The Onyx Network presents a health and wellness spiritually based brand of hemp-derived CBD products made by Hopewell Farm in Harrogate, Tennessee. We apply our Kathara energy work with all of our plants and products. Our products made in small batches with only 2 ingredients of pure hemp, full spectrum crude oil, and coconut-derived MCT oil. Third-party lab tested for potency and legal THC THC levels with 6 strengths of 1 ounce oil to choose from. Know what you're buying and get what you pay for from Hopewell Farm. Applied directly to a specific area, Hopewell Farm topical salve in 1 ounce and ½ ounce sizes, made with pure hemp crude oil, comfrey extract, and all natural ingredients. Find the Hopewell Farm link and coupon code on the Unnext Network website at unnextnetwork.com. That's unnextnetwork.com.
Unlock the mysteries of the spirit realm with the new book, Meeting Wallace. In this channeled work by renowned psychic medium Larry Costa, the reader will delve into the profound wisdom of his spirit guide, Wallace. Together, they share the transformative journey of harnessing psychic powers from the celestial plane. Discover the extraordinary psychic gifts that have empowered Larry on his path, and immerse yourself in a thought-provoking and awe-inspiring read. Meeting Wallace is a groundbreaking endeavor, and it is a perspective seen through the eyes of a spirit guide. Discover the wisdom of the spirit realm alongside actual photographs of ghosts and spirit guides. Get the book Meeting Wallace by Larry Costa at Amazon.com.
Hello, and we are back with Starseed Ascension. Thank you for your patience. My computer and phone are wanting to heat up for whatever reason. Maybe it's the solar flares, I don't know. But yes, today we are with Angela Harper, who is taking us on her journey through many years of broadcasting. And welcome back, Angela Harper.
Thank you. It's good to see us back on the same screen now. I thought it was fun sharing it.
We'll see. There's always another opportunity to join, so we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. Well, I have a fun story to add on to what we ended with, the use it or lose it.
Sure.
Is a scenario that happened actually in my class this morning with my training class, and I had this. She's in her upper 80s. woman who her exercise was to get down on the ground, and she was going to do something down on the ground. And and I had a full class. I had a lot of people in there, and so I was trying to keep an eye on everybody that's moving. I mean, like what I tell them is what I told one woman today, I said, because she said, I need to move. And I said, perfect. I said, if you want to take those weights and throw them at me, I don't care, but don't go anything above 5 pounds. And you can throw them at me like daggers if you want, as long as you're moving your arms. And she said, fair enough. Thank God she didn't. But, she was like, I just know I need to move, and I don't remember what the exercise is. So she was moving. But this woman in her upper 80s, she needed to get down on the ground. She's just recently had a knee replacement. So getting up and down is difficult for her. And she's adorable. And so she starts to get down on the ground, and she said, okay, now my physical therapist told me I need to roll to the side to get, and so I just got out of the way. Obviously she had a process and she was going to do it. And I said, perfect. You do you. And all of a sudden she was standing up again, and she looked at me and she goes, wait a second, I'm supposed to be on the ground. She totally bypassed sitting on the ground. She got down on her hands and knees on the ground, but she was so proud that she could get back up that she did that before realizing the whole exercise was to stay on the ground and do the exercise. So I had her doing this with her arms just to move her body until the exercise was done, because it was all timed, so that everybody in the class would be on the same time. So I have her doing this. All of a sudden I look across the room, and one of the older gentlemen, who's also in his 80s, was doing exactly this. And that totally wasn't his exercise, but he saw she was doing it. So, I mean, it was like watching a mirror, and the two of them are just sitting there going like this across the room to each other. And he just knew he needed to move his body. He was tired of doing the exercise that he was doing. He still wants to move. And so now I've got just people dancing in the class and having going on, but it suddenly becomes a totally different class and totally out of control. But I was like, as long as you're moving, who cares? And it was fun. And that's, they left excited because they moved their bodies. And, that's what we were talking about. You lose it or use it or lose it. And, if she forgot to stay down on the ground, she came back up, it was fine. Just keep doing something. So we just improv'd it. And then then now I've got somebody all the way across the room doing the exact same thing. And I'm like, oh no, this is not how it's supposed to go.
But sometimes it works out the best like that.
Sometimes it works out the best that way.
I love it. So using your skills of improv, and I heard that you make it fun and creative. So
it's definitely creative, and we do have fun. So yeah, and that's what exercise should be. Exercise and nutrition too. And I say this to I preach this to my nutrition clients. Nutrition should not be rigid. Somebody can give you a plan, but if it's a plan you don't like, you're not going to do it. It should be fun. So you should pick out the things that you like and figure out a way to enjoy them, whether it's changing one ingredient, changing one spice, changing one protein replacement for something, you shouldn't be told this, or no one's going to do it. I wouldn't even want to do it that way. And same with exercise. Nobody wants to do the same thing every day, or you don't want to show up. And every day is about changing and doing stuff that you can adapt and kind of like we were talking about earlier, rewrite your own story. Like you get to be creative with it, and that's what makes it fun. And
that's beautiful.
That's what's fun about class. That's what's fun about clients, is you just get to be creative, and you get better results that way.
Yeah. And would you say too, because there are so many different trends, like here's the next healthiest thing for you, or here's the next thing that you should do or eat or consume or not do. Do you find that to be more of an individual journey for people than like an across the board thing?
I find it to be more, whether it's exercise or nutrition, people want a quick fix. And I find that these trends and these fads, and we're so inundated with ads popping up, try this, it'll melt such and such a way. And if that were the case, we would all look exactly the same. And I think that these fads come around they just get in our heads, these trends that go on. There's nothing wrong with trying anything once and seeing if it works. And I'm a firm believer. I mean, I'm I'm a guinea pig. My mom's a guinea pig. I enjoy learning about new things, but I think, there are some trends that are so extreme that people need to be careful of. And even these fitness, like I get a fitness pop-up ad that I've seen probably for the last 20 years of my life. And it's the same ad, the same person. And it's, if you're doing this and this and this, you're doing it wrong. Well, prove to me that this and this is wrong. And, I think that, but they're selling something, they're selling their trend, their fad. And anytime it's just so thrown in your face, the rate at succeeding and longevity with that, you can't sustain it. You can't sustain something that you're not going to enjoy and something that you're not going to have fun with.
Oh. So between your energy work, your intuition, and your science and knowledge with your background experience, you're kind of marrying all those areas to come up with a good plan with your clientele. What about, I know this is one that comes up quite often, and the world of sort of going through the ascension process or awakening process with energy sensitivities. And, we can feel shock waves that are pretty extreme to the central nervous system. So what do you recommend for central nervous system support? Is there a certain supplement or remedy technique?
I think there's a combo of things. I mean, there's so much if there were one supplement that we could take that would calm us all down, we wouldn't have medications, we wouldn't have libations, like there would just be so many different things that people would do. And so much of it just revolves around that whole mindfulness and the quietness. And you can take vitamins that help support that nervous system. Like, you've got your B vitamins and things like that, and those are all nervous system vitamins. And you can do that helps support it. But bottom line too is when it comes to something like that, if you don't get to the internal root of what's going on, that nervous system is going to flare, and that it's going to fight you, and you're going to fight it and be frustrated that you can't calm. And so much of it just goes with being internal and just taking that mindfulness and the breathing techniques and things like that to calm the system down. I mean, in fact, one of my clients last week, she came and she was hyperventilating and trying to talk to me about what she wanted to do for the session. And I finally said, stop, take a breath, and then let's start the session. But like, I couldn't understand what she was saying, and she was just hyperventilating, and I knew she was excited. It was, I think, our first real session together. And she was just, adrenaline was going. And I finally said, stop it. And now take a couple deep breaths, and we'll begin after we just we regroup and ground for a second. And then you can tell me what it is you want to do in this session, and I'll tell you what you're going to do in this session. So yeah, it's just taking a second to kind of regroup. And it takes training. I mean, I'm the worst at it too. And I shouldn't say too, nobody else said that they were. I'm awful at sometimes, getting so caught up in adrenaline that I have to really remind myself, this is an internal process. This is, just moving through something. And, I can't get wrapped up in the excitement of energy around me, like this is, because I get excited very easily. And my adrenaline gets going, and I find the joy in stuff. And, sometimes I have to regroup.
Well, you touched on too, I heard you say libations, and speaking of anxiety and central nervous system as well, because it can shock the central nervous system, and that can go down a deeper rabbit hole of like healing trauma and things like that, as well as nutrition and movement. So on the topic of anxiety, as somebody that has had bad anxiety, what would you say are some helpful techniques for you in your process? And do you want to talk a little bit about your journey? And even, you have been sober now for 2 years, which is congratulations, amazing. So if you just want to talk a little bit about your journey and yeah. And
Well, yeah, sure. And I get anxious as I start to even talk about it. But I think that I chose high strung careers very early in my journey. I mean, the anxiety and the angst in the newsroom alone. I mean, I ended up with stomach issues, and and I've realized that all of that just resulted in this has to be done by 5 o'clock, and it's got to go on at 5 o'clock, and because it's airing at 5:05, and it's 4:55, and you're just rolling into the newsroom going, how is this even going to get cut and written and all that, and suddenly everything goes. And then I jump into another profession that everything is the deadline. We've got to shoot, we've got to be on time, we've got to be on budget, which most professions are. But there's such a emphasis in the film and TV about those deadlines, and because there's such a mass audience that they're trying to get out to. So there is all of that anxiety, and it was a society that I lived in that very much self-soothed. And and I noticed that if the drinking, you drink to self-soothe, and that calms that anxiety down. And I learned this through studying and researching it, is because you get that dopamine hit from that drink, and that calms your central nervous system down, and you all of a sudden, that's why they say that first sip of cocktail hour, everybody's calm right after work. That's why everybody's rushing out of work to get to happy hour, because they take that first drink and they suddenly calm down. Or you're in a social situation, you take that first drink, it calms you down, and because you get that dopamine hit. And then after 15 minutes, that dopamine hits and starts to go down the other way, and you're constantly chasing it. So then that's where the next drink comes in, because all those feelings, that anxiety, all triggers back up. And so by understanding and learning through all of that, I realized I could suppress that anxiety. This was, it's like a pacifier in a way. And, until you realize that, the pacifier is not healthy, and it doesn't make you feel good, and you don't sleep well, and you get up and you're foggy and you're groggy, and it got to a point where that wasn't a lifestyle that worked for me. My hours were too wonky, and so I went sober curious. And I say sober curious, I knew that I needed to quit drinking, or to stop drinking for a while and regroup and figure out what was really going on. And basically what it boiled down to was I didn't even really like drinking. It's that I wanted to feel calm. But once I stopped drinking, I realized that anxiety went away, because I was drinking to take the anxiety away. The anxiety would increase. You drink to take it away, it increases. And I couldn't figure out what was causing all this anxiety. And still, I get anxiety. I'll get a panic attack, once in a while. But now at least I know, basically I know now that I'm not dying. And before, it does just feel like something's going on inside of you that you can't, you can't contain, you can't control, you can't put a label on, and nothing's wrong with you, but you feel like something's wrong with you. And, once I got rid of the alcohol, it took one layer out to figure out, that was really what was causing so much of the anxiety. And now there's anxiety about other things. It's still, you're paying rent, you're doing all that, but it's a lot easier to tackle when you address it head on, as opposed to putting it on the back burner so that you can do something else to calm yourself down for an hour. And so it's a process. It is a process. But once I learned it, I realized that it was only making it worse and not better. And anxiety never goes away, I don't think, for anybody. We all have some form or another, whatever it is. And I still get anxious sometimes walking into class going, is this program that I've made for everybody going to work? I have no idea. And I just hope it does. Or when I meet a new nutrition client, am I going to tell them what they're looking for, or are they wanting a quick fix that I don't have an answer to? I don't know. And until you dive into it, you don't know. Until you try it, you don't know. So by the time the fourth class rolls around, I'm like, okay, this program works. Now I can calm down. You guys just do yourself. You just do the whole class yourself. It's running like clockwork now.
Yeah.
So, it's just all a process basically of figuring it out. It doesn't go away, but it gets easier.
I love that. It's kind of like when you went diving right into the unknown.
Yeah, I still think I was crazy for that one, but anyway.
Well, yeah, no, it's interesting to like when you break it down like that and do the analysis that the same thing you're trying to quell or numb is actually it's perpetuating, or
Yeah.
amplifying that same, energy, which is what we're running from essentially. Um, so for you, anything in addition then to that change, would you say like physical movement, anything else that has been quelling the
Yeah,
anxiety?
sure. I mean, I think for me, working out is a huge anxiety release. I mean, like if I don't get up and it sets my tone for the day, and it's really hard if I can't do it because I can tell that I'm off balance. If I start my day with something that I know isn't healthy, the rest of the day is just kind of like, what's the point? And so there are things that I have to kind of have a schedule about in my own head just to keep working through internal things. And,
Hmm.
working out for me is a meditation because, you can do your thing and you can zone out. And I usually turn the cooking channel on and I can, it's an hour that I get to myself, and it starts my day and it kicks it off and it programs it basically for the rest. And I think when you start your day in a healthy way, you set yourself up for success more often than not. And when you get up and you start your day off in an unhealthy way, it can trigger the rest of the day. So for me personally, I know everybody's got their own process, but
Sure, sure.
for
Well,
me.
I know, and you and I have talked about this before because like something that I noticed about myself along this journey, especially going through like just kind of this transformation, is that things in your diet change, right? So like
Oh
things
yeah.
that you used to be able to eat, you could no longer eat. And so there's some changes and adjustments. And so some people, are able to, pay attention, be real in tune to that and adjust accordingly. But are you somebody that provides that support to clients that maybe are trying to figure out what it is that's not working for them and how to help them navigate that process?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, everything with both with nutrition and fitness, but to your point, nutrition is it's trial and error, and it's if something's going wrong with your system, let's remove something and see if that goes away. Let's add something and see if that makes it feel better. If there's a lot of inflammation, let's look at if you're stiff all the time, let's look at what you're eating and see are there some red flags in there that we could eliminate that might be triggering, the inflammation or an autoimmune or allergies. I mean, so many people now are suffering with allergies because so much of our food system is different now, and it's processed in a way that we weren't made to handle. I mean, our bodies are very obviously technical and advanced and can do, insane stuff, but it was also they were also designed to break down the basic stuff. And now when things are so contaminated, our body looks at them as foreign things and it goes, what do we do with this? It's like a UFO going by. I recognize it, but what is this? And or some, sort of spiritual thing, like whether it's you feel a being going through the room or like you just walk into a room and go, okay, I can tell this energy is different than the other person's house that I went to. What's going on? Like, that there's something off. You just don't know what it is. And so like with the diet, with nutrition, you just start pulling things out and adding things back in and seeing what the results are. And it's a lot of trial and error. And that's what I tell my clients is this isn't an overnight fix. I can give you numbers. I can give you, like of what they, if depending on if that's what they want, if they're wanting weight loss or if they're just wanting a healthier lifestyle, I can break it down for you, but ultimately it's going to be how you feel doing it. And does this work for you? Or do we need to change something? I mean, I've got one client that it's a pyramid. We do one new habit a week because we can't go from 0 to 60 because it's too drastic of a change. So we layer it and go, okay, let's try this habit for 2 weeks, see how you do. The next week we'll change it. See, well, did it work? Did it not work? Were there improvements? Can we, negotiate certain things? And then we add something else to it to figure out. So it's going to be a journey, but that client's willing to take the time to do it. And that's the beautiful part of it, is when you are willing to go through the process, the results will be much prettier in the end and sustainable.
All right. Well, I heard you mention UFO, and it wouldn't be the Starseed Ascension podcast if we didn't pepper in, And I know you have so much else to offer, like, because you integrate, energetics into all of this. So we'll make sure we get your information, how people can find you. But can you share some of the recent paranormal experiences that you've had?
You're giggling because I've never had something come down, and present itself in a way where I can be like, oh my gosh, I saw this. It was real. It was, like I haven't had, and I'm sure there will be a day that happens and I have that profound experience. I mean, I know there's ones that I just sit there and I kind of ponder, was that such and such, or did I just see something, whatever it is. But I will say, and this, I know I have shared, is, just even in bed, when I was in bed, a couple weeks ago, and I was just flat. And all of a sudden I thought my cat had jumped on my bed, because there was definite movement, but nothing had moved. But it felt like the covers had been picked up and then laid back down all across my thigh, from my knee to my hip. And it was like that feeling of the air being kind of lifted. And like when you pull the covers up and lay, you just feel that air movement. And I totally felt that. And then, so I looked at the foot of the bed and my cat hadn't jumped up there. And I was like, well, that was really weird. And then I proceeded to, obviously go to bed and go, that was really weird. I wonder what that was. Just thinking, I wonder what that was. And then, had a dream about, my grandfather, who, unfortunately I rarely dream about, but, he was in my dream, and I was so excited because I thought, well, maybe there was some sort of correlation, with that movement, and then having that, special dream that, maybe was correlated.
Yeah. And your grandfather that passed away.
Yes. Yeah. not reading me bedtime stories. Yeah, exactly.
I love it. Well, thank you for sharing that. And real quickly, thoughts on aliens? Do they exist?
I believe that there is. Yes, I believe that there is another being out there. Okay. Yes, I do.
And we have about 1 minute left.
I think it's behind you right now.
Hey, that's Herman.
I believe Herman is in that room. No, I do believe that we're not the only ones here. Yes.
Okay. And anything else you feel called to share? Any last messages before we get your information out there?
No, I mean, I think that, I think exciting. I think it's exciting with all the UFO stuff that's coming out, that, the news media and all of that stuff that's finally, unleashing and slowly letting things out of the bag. I think we'll be shocked and surprised. I think some people won't be surprised and other people will, but I think it'll be, I think it's going to be interesting to see, and I'm looking forward to it.
Beautiful.
Because I think there is stuff out there. I think there is. We're not here alone. We're a small part of it.
For sure.
I still think we're being controlled by joysticks in a video game.
Yeah, we'll have to go. We'll have to have you on for that theory too, because I love.
What's that?
I said we'll have to bring you back to hash out that theory too, because I love the joystick theory.
We're just somebody's video game, and they're controlling us with the little joystick.
So fun to think about. Well, Angela, how can people get a hold of you if they're interested in exploring any of your services?
You can reach me through Angela Harper Wellness, WELLNESS.com.
All right. Thank you so much for being here today.
It's been fun.
All
Even our little cameo together was fun.
Yeah, and thanks for letting me in the room.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right, everybody. We will see you guys next week, where we'll get a little bit deeper into solar flares and activity and some other fun stuff. Thanks so much for listening.